Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my Zeta Division Valorant roster rebuild. My first Pacific rebuild outside of the bleed one that I did before the offseason started. Now we'll ignore that one because they got kicked out of ECT. But regardless, yeah, this is my first video where I'm going to be going through rebuilding the entire Zeta roster where I see fit. I'm going to be doing this for every team in Pacific. So those will be coming out in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that if you guys enjoy this kind of video. I also did videos on every EMEA team and every Americas team if you guys are interested in those. So go check out those videos if you're interested in that. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy. It really helps me out. Go follow me on Twitter, where I'll be tweeting updates about this series and just thoughts on general off-season stuff in Valorant, whether it be roster moves, tournaments, how players are playing in those tournaments or whatnot, and just general stuff like that. Also, go follow me on Twitch, where I've been streaming Minecraft a little bit more lately. I can probably talk a little bit more about what's actually going on during the off-season on those streams as well. So, again, if you're interested in that, go check those out. And yeah, let's get right into it. So before we get into what this team is going to be doing in 2025, we got to talk about what they did in 2024. So they added Euron and Euron in the offseason, two players that I actually kind of liked, specifically Euron, who I thought was an insanely good Sentinel player in Tier 2 Japan last year. And yeah, I thought he would be a sick player on that Sentinel role. I assumed he would be playing. He ended up playing Flex for this team, which was kind of weird. Euron also played a little bit of Flex initiator stuff. I don't know exactly how you define the roles between those two. But yeah, not exactly two massive hits during the offseason. Then they lost in play-ins at kickoff, playing some really weird games against like Global, where they were running like the solo Viper on bind or whatever, and stuff like that. So I think that was maybe a little bit of a fluke into play-ins. Then they went 2-3 in stage 1 and 1-4 in stage 2, and they looked really bad. I feel like that those records actually are better than how they looked. They probably just, I mean, I don't have it up in front of me, but they probably just beat some pretty bad teams, like most teams Pacific did. So yeah, I don't know. Just not a good year for Zeta when I think they had real expectations of being a good team heading into 2024. Then our goal is, I think, just continue building a core around Dep and Sugar. I'm pretty high on Dep. I think I'll talk about him a little bit more later, but I feel like some people would want him dropped in this scenario. Same thing with Sugar, but yeah, again, we'll talk more about those players in a little bit. Now we get into the players that we'll be removing here. And we'll start with Euron, who is the only player we're technically removing by choice. Laz is the other player that's going to go here just because he's going to retire in real life, so we'll have him retire in this world as well. So to talk a little bit more about Euron, I think he did some nice stuff last year. I think he showed some stuff where he looked pretty flexible, some games where he was very mechanically good. But overall, just one of the least consistent players in the world. Had some really high, maybe not really high highs, but like some decent games, and then some really bad games. So I think this role is one that you need a little bit more consistency from, at least game to game in terms of mechanics, and then yeah, and then just have some better supportive utility, which I don't think Euron was particularly great at. Like Viper was his best role. He played some Sova, he played some KO, I believe. Some Gecko, but I don't think any of the initiators were very good. It was mainly just the Viper that I thought was honestly passable. Now we get into the things that we need from this team, because I mean, we kind of skip through most of the video here. We normally talk about at least two players that we're going to be removing, but we need a flex player, we need an initiator, and we need an IGL. Obviously, one of those two will be that. We will be keeping Euron here. I'll talk about him a little bit more in depth later with Dep and Sugar. But for flex players, you have Akame, XDLL, and CLZ. For initiators, you have Tombo, Nobita, XDLL as well. For IGLs, you have Jojo, XDLL again, who, I mean, I think can just play any of the three spots really, and then also Messiah. So in terms of the players that we'll be picking up here, we'll start with CLZ, who has been part of the second best team in Challengers Japan for 2 years straight now. They just barely missed out on Ascension in 2023. And then again, this year just barely missed out again. Very, very good mechanical player. Used to be a duelist player for this team as well in 2023. And over the past year, I think his supportive utility on like Breach, I think he played a shit ton of KO as well. Let me pull up his exact agents. Yeah, like KO, Sage, Breach, Gecko, all that stuff has gotten to a really good point in my opinion. And yeah, he would be a great piece for really any Japanese team to pick up. I believe he's been rumored to Zeta in real life. I think it was. Let me give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Yes, it was Zeta. It was them or DFM, but yeah, DFM didn't have a roster yet. So yeah, I think he'd be a really good pickup for this team in real life as well. And yeah, I am a very big fan of his. Then I think it was pretty obvious based on how many times he was listed in the potential players. You have XDLL, who he became the IGL of this team, Fennel, also teammates with CLZ at the beginning of this year, and has been very, very good at that. I think. Let's look at their record. XDLL. I mean, I'm not gonna pull their exact record up or anything. But like they had a rough patch between like Split 2. I mean, just during Split 2 pretty much. They ended up making playoffs and doing pretty well as well. But I mean, the rest of the year was fantastic. They did pretty well during the Red Bull home ground qualifiers and stuff like that. Did he play? I don't think XDLL himself played during the actual tournament. No, like he didn't. Just yeah. I think he got subbed for or something. I don't know exactly what happened there, but he didn't get a chance to shine there. I think he would have been very good. And I think if he focused on specifically his individual play, he would be really, really good at that too. I mean, he already is. Like, I think he was one of the better statistical players in Split 2 while IGLing. So that's very, very good. Like, let me pull up ACS. Like, yeah, he's in like the top 10 of ACS, up there for rating, ADR as well. Like all that stuff. His stats are very good while IGLing, which is a good thing, especially in this meta where it's more focused on like the fracking of the IGL and just being able to make some like high leverage mid round decisions and stuff like that. So yeah, he's very, very, very good, and I would be very excited if he gets picked up by a team in real life. And I'm pretty sure he is also rumored to Zeta to be their IGL. I made this roster before Zeta made theirs, so I do find that interesting. But our final roster here will be Depp on Duelist, CLZ on Flex, XDLL as our Initiator IGL, Sugar Zero on Controller, and Euron as our Sentinel. Now, I've been very adamant about Depp being a very good player and just not having the support around him. I think in 2023, he was genuinely one of the best players in Pacific, bar none. And this year, he kind of didn't have that great structure around him that, I mean, I guess he didn't have in 2023 either, but I think it got worse going into this year. So I think getting him more help, getting him some better supportive utility would be very good, and better teammates in general, honestly. It would be very good for him. Sugar Zero, I think, has just been pretty solid throughout the whole course of him being on this team, so I'm going to keep him here. He did have some rough games, but honestly, I think overall he was pretty good last year. He also, I mean, towards the end of the year, he had some really, really good games, so I'd say keeping him wouldn't be the worst idea for Zeta. Like, if you got rid of him here for Zeta, then DFM would instantly pick him up. So I think, especially with Astra potentially coming back into the meta, I think he'd be a big piece for any team in Japan. Then for Sentinel, I am keeping Euron, who I really, really, really liked coming in this year. I talked about that a little bit earlier. I believe he was also on the 2023 Fennel roster. Yeah. So he's reunited with XTLL and CLZ. And he was farming for that team. So I think XTLL might have a better knowledge of how to maybe use this guy, keeping him on the Sentinel role, which I think he is much better at than the Flex stuff. Which they did end up swapping him to more Sentinel at the end of the year. it wasn't great. I'll be honest, but also like his confidence was ruined at that point. I think kind of resetting coming into the next year, I think he will look quite a bit better on the Sentinel role. Hopefully they keep him in real life. I don't think they will. I hope some team keeps him in tier 1, but I mean after last year I wouldn't really blame them for not. So this will be our final roster here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Go follow me on Twitch, Twitter, everything like that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.